All right, this is LT Melton with FetchYourNews.com, and we're here with Brad Steinhauer, the head coach of the men's basketball team for the Pickens High School Dragons. Coach, you're in the summer. You're coming off your year. It's in between time. What are the things that you're working on for your basketball team, looking forward to next season?
We're working on a lot of things. We graduated 6 seniors, so we're really having to teach a lot of the offense and defensive philosophies that we've had in the past. We're almost having to reteach them. And we've done that in 2 weeks of practice. Right now we're involved in a basketball camp, which we have going on right now. And we're playing basketball games down at Cherokee at their camp against some high-level competition, mostly Metro Atlanta. It's tough on us, but I think it's going to pay dividends in the future because of the competition. Raising that level of competition is going to help us. So we're really having to kind of revamp and start over. We've got a good group of freshmen that are coming in, very large class. We have about 12 kids there from the freshman class that have all showed up over the summer.
Oh, wow.
We're excited about them. And they're working hard. They're having to learn, and they're having to play sophomores, and it's a bumpy road right now, but it's going to get better, and they're going to get better, and we got high hopes for them. So it's been a pretty good summer so far.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned that you had all 12 of your freshmen come in. Were they kids that were fed through this camp? Did they attend this camp when they were younger?
Yeah, you know, there's some, I wouldn't say all of them have. There's some faces that I recognize. Maybe half, probably half of them at least, had been coming to the camp. You know, we'd like to get more. We'd like to get more in the future and be able to almost recognize every one of them.
Right.
But yeah, I'd say probably about at least 6 of them have come through the camp. Maybe not every year, but have at least attended the camp in the past. Yeah.
Now, when you're playing your young guys, and obviously, you know, a lot of your older players are going to be playing, as we talked before, football and baseball. Especially in smaller communities, everybody plays every sport, which I think actually is better for kids than the specialization you see in bigger schools and bigger areas. But when you're playing these young guys and you're taking them to play tough competition, what does that do for them mentally as well as physically?
Oh, that's a good question. You're right. It is. We actually encourage them to play multiple sports. The summer seems to have, in the last few years, shrunk. It seems to have shrunk, and the amount, even though maybe the time it hasn't, but people are doing more things. You know, football's doing more in June than they ever have before. You know, I'd say in the last 3 or 4 years, and that's just what I think GHSA has allowed them to do more. So football players are, you know, are being pulled here, and baseball is doing more. They're being pulled here. You know, we try and get it all done in June because we don't want to mess with July, and because, you know, that's traditionally football player, preseason. We don't want to mess with that. So yeah, it does pull. And when that pulls, you get, you know, you get kids having to make decisions, and they have to share, and we got to share.
Right.
For them mentally, I think they're okay. You know, going down and playing these games when you get beat by a lot, you know, that's not fun.
Right.
Ever. But the times that, you know, for instance, last night we go down, we get beat pretty handily in the first game. And then, you know, we regroup. We did the same. I only had 6 players with my varsity team. We come back. We do get beat in the second game, but instead of getting beat, you know, by 25, it's only about 12, and it's against a bigger school. And so those are little victories, and those are improvements that you can use to build on, and you can say, this is why we fell short here by this many points, and look at the improvements that we made. And if you can do that, you can build, and then that will pay dividends. Because I'm a firm believer that if you just play against people that are as good or not as good as you, you're never going to increase your skill set, and as a team, you're going to be stuck at that level. You've got to see how you compare against people that are better. So that's what we're trying to do.
Now, and let me ask, I'm glad you pointed out the difference, and you had the blowout loss, and then you had the smaller loss. Where do you as a coach, when especially you're dealing with the younger team as opposed to last year, like you said, you graduated 6 seniors, where do you find that balance between putting them out against guys that they just don't have a chance with, but also putting them against guys that are better than them?
Well, you actually really, to be honest with you, you don't really have that choice, because what you do is you sign up for a camp.
Okay.
They don't tell you who you're playing.
Right.
So when you get down there, you have a schedule, and these people are on this schedule.
Okay.
So you got to play them, and you got to step up and play them. And you can't look at a team like a North Cobb that's down there that's a 6A, really athletic school, or a Sequoia or somebody. They're really good. You can't go there and say, well, they're on our schedule. They're so good, we can't play them. You can't do that. You got to play them, and you got to do the best you can. And it doesn't matter how much you get beat by. You just got to keep playing. You got to keep persevering. And, if you take your lumps against big schools, you're also, we'll go to Georgia College where there won't be as big a schools, there'll be some smaller ones. And it should pay dividends, and we should win some games down there.
Right.
And then there's a balance. And when we find that balance, the summer then becomes successful. So I'm not really worried about wins and losses in the summer. I'm more worried about how we handle ourselves against specific situations, like how do we handle ball pressure? How do we attack a zone? How do we attack man-to-man defense? How do we execute on our offensive sets? How do we play defense? Those are the things I'm looking at in the summer. Wins and losses, who cares?
Right.
Nobody keeps record. It doesn't matter. What matters is skill development, how we come together as a team, and carrying that over into the regular season.
Now, I'm glad that you mentioned working on particular skills, because I've always found that when it comes to scrimmages and in the summer, yes, obviously you want to win the game or you want to beat the other team, but coaches are always more concerned with what did they work on and how did they get better. When you're in the summer, and especially when you have a younger team, what are the differences that you've seen, and what have you had to work on more so with the younger guys as opposed to, let's say, last summer when you had older guys?
I have to work on basketball savviness. For instance, when you are running a play, when you're young and you're trying to learn a play, you're going to run that play because your coach is telling you to run that play.
Right.
So you want to go from point A to point B or whatever. But you can't script what the other team's defense is.
Right, exactly.
They may jump in an area where it takes that play from happening. So what does a basketball savvy player do? He takes that defensive player and then turns it against them and goes in a different direction.
Right.
It may not be the play, but it's understanding that this is broken down. The objective is to score. We've got to turn and come up with something else. That's what we have to teach these young kids. That's where they really have to grow from when they become freshmen all the way into their senior year.
Right.
To learn not only basketball, to run plays. I mean, everybody's got different stuff. But how do you teach them how to play the game?
Right.
How do they play the game? That's the kind of part that we're trying to work on, and it takes the most growth and the most patience. And so, if we can stay patient with them and we can continue to encourage them, we really believe that they're going to be. We think they can be really good when they get older. So we're excited about that.
All right, now we talked about the young guys, and a lot of your older players are in different sports. When looking forward to this season, when football season's over and your baseball players are already be in the fold, when looking at the team that you expect to have on the court, what are some of the expectations, as well as what are some of the highlights you expect, and what are some of the struggles you expect to see in this upcoming season?
Well, it's gonna highlights. Hopefully, we will be decently athletic, and I've got a good group of juniors that I like, and then they play hard and they play fast, and then they've got some talent. I like that, and I think we should play hard. I don't have any questions about that. My concerns are inexperience at the guard position, and inexperience anytime when you're talking about guards often leads to things like turnovers and mental mistakes. We got to work on that. That's going to be a growing process. It's going to happen. We're going to have to work on trying to get that fixed very quickly, and we want to build on that. I'm fully aware that we may have some struggles at the beginning, but we want to build on that. Those are my concerns, the inexperience, and if we can get that inexperience level to mature quickly, I think we're going to be okay, and I think we can compete in our region, and those are my hopes anyways. It's hard to really see that right now in June. We get a better understanding when we see exactly who comes out for basketball in October, but that's our goal, and that's what we think we think we can be competitive in our region, and that's what we're going to try to do.
I'm actually glad that you said depending on who comes out, because my next question is now we talked about athletes specializing and they play in all different sports, but one of your better players, Shannon Brooks, is going to be attending Georgia Tech on a football scholarship, and as basically he is a football player, but he's also played basketball. Do you expect him to play basketball this year, or would it not be surprising to you if, say, maybe he entered early or concentrated on football for his career at the next level?
No, he's already been to 3 or 4 practices and has already played in one camp with us. I expect he's playing basketball unless he changes his mind. I don't see that happening. We've had many conversations. He enjoys basketball. If there's anything what I wouldn't see coming, I believe he's going to be playing. So I think he's going to be out there.
Because I wanted to ask that question because I had heard that when he was a younger player, like in the 8th grade, he was a lot of people thought he would be a basketball player. So that's why I wanted to know, because especially with an athlete like that, right, sometimes they just have to make decisions for themselves. And I'm actually glad to hear that he's going to be playing basketball, because I look forward to it. And I always think that a lot of times when those kids that specialize, they make a mistake in not playing that sport their senior year, and they look back and wish they had.
Yeah, I think Shannon would look back and be disappointed. He likes basketball a lot. I expect him to be out there.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you.